You ready?
Yeah.
You have to bring the mic closer to you, man.
True story.
No, you're good.
There you go. I don't want, it looks too fancy.
It looks too fancy?
Like, I don't want to break it.
I'll have you slide over just a
Yeah, I don't want to break it.
Mentally, he feeling lost. I'm scared one day he just might crash. So God, what should I do? I try my best to ship him right to you. I'm telling him to pray when I've been praying and I ain't heard from you. I'm struggling too. I got no money when my bills is due. I battle mental health. Who there for Brent? I'm by myself. Cool. I'm in the stew. Losing time and sleeping. I don't charge a dime. Had to learn this
Just
shit.
like that, we're back in another episode of Line for Line. We have a very special guest in the building. I'll let her introduce herself to the world.
My name is Lanie Mae Figueroa from Beautiful Struggle Incorporated.
So just tell us a little bit about you before we get ready to get this episode started.
There's a lot about me. What do you want to know?
Just tell us the basics, everything that the inquiring minds want to know.
So I am a mother. I'm a single mother of a 6-year-old boy. I'm also a mental health provider and small business owner.
Oh, wow. And how'd you get into the mental health?
I got into the mental health after working as a social worker for about 5 years. I went through my own kind of like mental health issues, and that kind of made me want to explore further education to become a therapist, and now I'm here.
Nice. So what was it that made you realize that you needed to seek help for your mental struggles?
For me, I think I can only speak as a woman of color, like I was pretty much like raised to kind of like suck it up, buttercup kind of like motto. And I was really struggling. So I sought out a mental health therapist, and I had already been a social worker for about 5-6 years. So while I was going through my own depression and seeing a therapist, I was also in graduate school to become a therapist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Beautiful journey right there. And I noticed you said you do have a son.
Yes.
How old is he?
He's 6.
Nice.
6 years old.
Does that make you more inept to getting mental health when you realize that you have a son as well too?
Definitely.
And you don't want them to go to the same struggles?
I think that he was the main cause for me to want to pursue help, as well as wanting me to pursue a higher education. He's definitely like my motivation behind a lot of things. I started grad school when he was 3 months old. I was a single mom, and we practically just went through everything together.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he's definitely my biggest motivation.
Yeah. It's kind of tough out here for our young boys of color as well.
Oh, most
as
definitely.
you mentioned, like I was raised the same way as well too. Like you're not really supposed to talk about your feelings. You're supposed to suppress them,
Yes.
Don't seek help. It makes you look weak as well too.
Yes.
And then that's when we grow. That's when we start to see these males who are in their latter years and they're still like just clueless to a bunch of things as well too.
Yeah, that as far as like the emotional intelligence, I think as a whole, just our society is kind of a little cold or shut off at times. There's, it's a hard time right now. There's a lot going on. But I think foremost, like for me, like my son is very emotional. I'm not all that emotional because I have taught not to be emotional. So it's kind of hard to guide at times or know how to respond to it because I was raised around men that are not emotional. So I don't know what that aspect looks like. But I teach him how to verbalize his emotions, and I teach him that it is okay to feel all type of feelings and emotions, not just anger or aggression, which is typically like the go-tos in our society that are acceptable.
What would you say was the biggest piece of advice that you got early on that you still use into today's time?
I think that I had a conversation with one of my great friends, CJ, from college, and we went over this whole philosophy of like imposter syndrome. And I struggled with that. I didn't know exactly what that was, but the whole message behind it was like, you are kind of like your worstest critic. Sometimes you're your worstest enemy when it comes to like your goals. So definitely like pushing forward with your goals, regardless of your insecurities. You don't always have to have everything looking perfect or a perfect blueprint of, how do you get from point 1 to point 10. It's just a matter of like getting started and not being your worstest critic.
But how is it that we overlook that when we got things like Instagram, Facebook, where we see other people and they make it seem like they got everything all figured out, and then we're knocked back down to square one? I
think for sure it's like, don't compare your journey to somebody else, because everyone is going to be, they are all equipped with different traits. They're all equipped with different gifts. And not everything that you see that's posted out there, it is what it is. And I think that that's unfortunately like the drawback when it comes to social media is like the constant like comparison of like, dang, you know, he's there or she's there, but I'm not there. Yeah. Whether it's like, you know, diet wise or career wise or family wise, like that comparison piece is really hard in our generation of like trying to compare what you're doing and what somebody else is doing. And celebrating though, but celebrate like if, you know, Jessica did it, but you're not there yet, like great for Jessica, but that's just like a random name. But, you know, like celebrate for that person, but also be like, okay, well, maybe there's some things that I can learn, but don't compare because everyone has their different path to get to their goal.
I often tell a couple of my close friends as well too, like in today's society, this social media stuff is a drug right now. People just get so full of like the fake stigmas of the likes, the comments and all that, and they really let it go to their head, but then they realize every day is not going to be the same. Everyone's not going to always show you that love 100% of the time, and then that's when you find people are ready to go off the deep end when they feel that they don't get that love and they feel like they have to do something so spontaneous that people are going to bring attention back to them. And I just hope my daughter never has to go through that, you know?
Definitely. I think it comes off from like that instant validation, right? Or like gratification. And a lot of people need that. They feed off of that. And I'm not saying that I don't like when I get a like or, you know, a share on social media. Yes, but it doesn't define who I am. It doesn't move my day. Like if I post, you know, something and I get 2 likes versus tomorrow I get 50 likes. That's not going to determine my mood or how I feel or what I do that day. So I think the more that we pour into our children and we create a strong foundation as far as their security and how they feel about themselves, it doesn't matter if they get validation because they have the validation within themselves.
Yes, ma'am. Now, as a parent, what are some things that you do to make sure you do pour that back into your son?
I think for me, I spend a lot of one-on-one time with my son. I unplug from a lot of things. Like if I got to unplug from my phone or my social media and just kind of give him that one-on-one time. I try to pour into his likes. I see what he likes, what he doesn't like. And I try to just nurture that, you know, and just really be in tune of what are his gifts? What are his likes? What are his strong suits? What are some things that he needs to work on? And really just congratulating like my son, whether it's like, you know, thank you for doing this. Or even if he's not doing well, just sitting down and actually talking to him and not reprimanding him so that he understands why you're in trouble or why you did not do what you were supposed to do. So there's a lot of communication, and a lot of that comes from me being a social worker. Like, I wasn't taught to be that way, or I wasn't parented in that way. But I'm really big on like generational trauma and breaking that cycle. So just trying to redefine like, you know, how I parent my child, but also it's a learning process. Yes, ma'am. You kind of learn as you go.
Totally. Yeah. What would you say was the hardest part about getting started on the mental health journey?
For myself or like as a professional?
Just for yourself. Like
for myself, I think it was just admitting like I needed help, right? Like I think for me it was literally right after I had my son. I became a single mom right after he was a month old. It wasn't planned, you know. Sorry. It's okay. I mean, so I went through like postpartum, right? And kind of just like that in denial phase of like, do I have depression? Like, what's going on here? And then asking for help. Like, I was always so used to being the person that people go to help, you know, that people go to for help. So the fact that I was like a professional in the field going to therapy, it was hard, but I got to see like what it was in my clients' eyes, like what it was to be in their shoes. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So when was it that you implemented your business into the plan?
So it was when I became a single mom that I came about with Beautiful Struggle. I didn't really necessarily from the beginning like had an idea of where it was going to take me. I knew that I always wanted to work with women. I had worked with women. I've been working with women for over 10, 11 years in the field. So I work with families and women. And I would say maybe like 2 years into graduate school, I kind of came up with the idea of providing, workshops for women. And then after that, I kind of came up with a clothing brand. And then I started raising money through my clothing brand in order to provide clients with services and products.
Nice. Do you have any merchandise with you?
I do.
That we could possibly show off to the camera?
So I have, this is my most current line, which is
Make sure you
my
show it to the
melanin
camera,
line.
young lady.
Sorry, my melanin line. So it's called Hues of Nude.
May I see the hat?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course.
So we have like the dad hat, right? That's what they call it. A dad could wear it. I don't know if they want to or not, but that's on them. And we have like beanies. So those are embroidered. I designed all my logos.
Oh, wow.
But I
Okay.
actually get the embroidered items. I actually get those sent out to get embroidered. And then I have like t-shirts and hoodies.
Oh, wow.
And these are actually made out of vinyl. So I actually make these.
You make these yourself?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I cut the design. I have a website. I also design my own website. So the main thing about our merch is that you'll see this lotus. So the lotus is kind of like what it symbolizes is kind of like rebirth. So the whole idea behind my agency is like transforming your pain into your purpose. So the actual rebirth of like, even though I've been through traumatizing things in my life, I'm not going to allow it to define me, and I'm going to transform it into my purpose.
Yes, ma'am.
So my hoodies, most of my items say I'm worthy. It's just like a positive like affirmation for women. And then I have my other line that's going to be coming out soon, which is the Chasing the Generational Wealth.
Chasing the Generational Wealth.
Yeah.
Where is it that people can go to find some of this fly merch?
So my website is Beautiful Struggle Incorporated, so inc.org.
We'll make sure that description is in the link to this episode for you
Thank
guys at
you.
home who want to go ahead and shop with Lanie. So just tell us a little bit more about the transpiration, if that's even a word, whatever, the transpiring of the clothes that came from your pain.
I had gotten a hoodie made that said pain into purpose. And I've always been into fashion. Like, fashion has always been a thing of mine. I'm a super girly girl. And I take pride in how I look, whether it's I'm going to be looking comfortable or I'm going to be dressed up. So I started wearing hoodies during quarantine, right? Because that's all we can pretty much wear because we couldn't go anywhere. So I had a hoodie that said pain into purpose. And one of my good friends said, like, yo, you should really, like, look into making that, like, a line or something, like, to promote your brand. And I'm like, huh? What? So then I bought a Cricut machine.
Oh,
and
nice.
then I started making my own logos. And then, like, my creative, like, side just started making all different kind of logos. And I'm Worthy's, like, one of my most popular ones. And Chasing Generational Wealth, too. So those two are my most popular ones. And with the proceeds that I get from the apparel, I'm able to purchase the women hygiene items.
Oh,
so
nice.
I work with women. Currently, right now, I have 2 contracts with 2 rehab centers in Milwaukee. And I go in, I provide a workshop, and I provide a purse full of hygiene products to women in rehab centers. So I'm promoting the inner healing by providing them a workshop on mental health, and the outer healing when making sure that they're taking care of themselves, like physically
Yes, ma'am.
and emotionally.
How good does it make you feel when you see that you're really making a difference in people's lives, something that you love to do?
I think that I've been blessed enough to do it for a while now, but to actually do it under my own agency and kind of me being the one to direct how it flows and who I touch is completely different. It's definitely, how can I say it? It's kind of just, it's a testament to, like, you kind of going through your own thing and making it be able to transform into your path, and then touching other women that you can relate to. But with every woman that I speak to, I'm able to help another woman, even if I haven't been through the same circumstances they have. Just bringing all of these women together from different backgrounds, whether it's like racially or age-wise or generational, we're all able to come together with the purpose of healing. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my. You're about to make me tear up over here, seriously. Now, before we get ready to close out this amazing episode, if there would be one thing that you would want the women out there to know who are not necessarily scared, they just don't know the right route to take to start getting help and getting treatment, what would it be?
Well, definitely is like, don't be afraid to let your guard down. And there are people out here, there are professionals out here that do care, and we do it for the right reasons. So I think that's it. Just let that guard down, and anything that you do for yourself is going to benefit your children and future generations.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone out there that you would like to shout out, say hello to? Thanks for the support. Thanks for buying my first hoodie, whatever the case may be.
My first hoodie, my homegirl bought when I got my website was Renee Northern. She's here from Kenosha. I went to school here,
Nice.
high school and college, but that's like my ace, So she bought my first hoodie. She's definitely someone that inspired me to also seek, my own mental health therapy, as well as, kind of seeking my dreams and my vision. So she's one of them. Definitely my mom, my son, my family as a whole. Also my homegirl, Chris Robert.
How I'm supposed to stop, I leave the stew and I feel dead. Try not to complain, get on these beats and show the world me. Drop a whole tape and got a bag to post my EP. But let the baby drop a Dirk, a baby, they gon' do the most. Flood the timeline and I be lucky if I get a post. I'm just telling you what they've been doing to me. How you call us cuz and still watch us bleed?